stay the night. Ratchet! Optimus yelled, running out of the ground bridge. Thunder rattled the base, a storm coming in. Oh my god! Miko gasped, running towards the edge. Ratchet turned, optics widening. Bring her here. He shoved equipment off an area, and hurry, we don't know what Starscream might have done to her. Optimus cradled her to his chest, speed walking to the platform. I have a pretty good idea. He growled. RC running out of the ground bridge. Is she alright? Miko shouted, her eyebrows slanted. Molly's breathing hitched. Her body gasping for relief. Ratchet! Optimus yelled, setting her down. Ratchet slammed his digits onto the keyboard. I can't get her scan. He cried, the radiation is affecting everything. Optimus started around. His optics stopped at the beanbag. He rushed over, and flipped it over. Please let it be down here. He begged, scanning the horde of junk. The case was right in the middle. His hand snatched it, pulling it away from the junk. A blood sample? Ratchet questioned. Optimus ignored him, and unbuckled the case. He randomly grabbed hold of a syringe. His spark beat quickened. His hands unnoticeably shaking. The needle was ultra thick. Unnaturally thick. Optimus strode back to her. He partly trusted himself with the syringe. He lifted her left arm, feeling her flinch. The paleness of her forearm spanning up to her shoulders, and down her fingertips. Veins, turned black, and arteries glowing a bright blue. Optimus shook more, his optics started from her to the syringe. He carefully inserted the syringe, drawing the needle back. Please. He pled, watching the thick black liquid being drawn from her arm. But as it drew in, the black suddenly changed. Energon. He gasped silently, pulling the needle out. Ratchet took the syringe. Looking at the drastic change in blood type, he started scanning it. She's been injected with Energon. He gasped, looking at the cells. The Kaiju blood multiplied to fight it off. Usually that would work, but something is interfering the process. Optimus held her tiny hand in his palm, failing to notice her scarred shoulder design. Will she? Optimus gulped, looking at the scan. Ratchet sighed, looking at him. I don't know. He confessed. Optimus closed his fist around Molly's limp hand, clenching his mouth. If I can stabilize the flow of Energon, and find a way to eradicate the Kaiju DNA from multiplying, Ratchet explained quickly, she might be able to recover. Jack and Raph were restraining Miko from running to Molly's side. She tried to pull away. No use. My mother is a nurse. Jack shouted over Miko's struggling, I can call her up and no. Ratchet yelled, stressing out, Energon is way more complex than a simple electrocution. And if Kaiju blood is touched, it would infect the victim, causing them to irradiate. The only reason Molly is even alive is because she has a large amount of radiation already. Jack opened his mouth in protest, and frowned. I need to keep track of her breathing and heart rate. Ratchet motioned, leaning over the unconscious girl. If it gets too high or too low, her condition will become even worse than her already critical condition. Optimus backed up away from her, slowly letting go of her hand. Do what you must, Ratchet. Prime wavered, looking down in worry. Ratchet nodded, looking down. I'm going to need a pulse monitor, some cables, and anything she would use for her first aid. He claimed, looking at her. On it. Miko nodded, looking at Bulkhead. Her house should have everything we need. She stated, jumping down. He nodded, and transformed. They raced out of the base, thunder shaking the silo. Bulk, we have to hurry. Miko shouted, looking out. Bulkhead sped up. Following her directions, they pulled into her driveway. Okay, I'm going to go in, just wait out here. Miko shouted, getting out. She ran to the door, looking behind her. Miko. She froze, and turned to the door. Oh scrap. She whispered, staring at Molly's older brother. What are you doing here? He crossed his arms, looking down at her, and where's Molly? SHT. We might have a slight problem. Bulkhead come in. What is it, Bulkhead? Ratchet shouted, throwing equipment around. Either we have the wrong house or her brother's home. Everyone froze, and knowing of what Molly has said of her brother, it couldn't be good. Do not engage. Optimus ordered. Too late. Bulkhead exclaimed, watching Maiko stammer in front of the door. Me and Molly were having a sleepover last night, and she asked me to come here to get more pillows for the fort. Maiko lied, eyes darting back to Bulkhead. Is that so? Logan leaned up against the door frame. Then why didn't she just come here to get them? Maiko's mouth dropped. She looked back to Bulk, because she was at the store. Logan obviously wasn't buying tea by his expression. Sure. Tell me why you're really here. Logan demanded, tapping his fingers. Maiko droned, looking into the house. I am telling the truth. Maiko lied again, we needed more pillows and blankets, not to mention the lack of movies. Look, Mix, Logan started, I've known you long enough to tell when you're lying. And this screams it. He waved his hand, motioning to her. Please. Maiko scoffed, just let me into the garage to get the pillows and I'll be gone. Logan stared at her, and shrugged, whatever. Best way to get you out is to let you in. He moved out of the way, letting Maiko shimmy through. Thanks. She started speed walking, knowing exactly where the garage was. She opened the door, looking around, and went in. Phew. She wiped imaginary sweat from her forehead, and started dashing around. Where's it? She asked herself, opening drawers and cabinets. On the storage desk, laid the Royal Animalian first aid kit. It was large, made up of a fireproof, water-resistant fabric. Bingo. She said, running to it. She unzipped it, pushing some things out of the way. Heart monitor ... check. Extra syringes, check. Other stuff, check. Maiko listed, and zipped it back up. She hardly had any clothes on, might as well get her some. Maiko sighed, climbing the stairwell. She randomly pulled open some drawers, grabbing a tank top and sweatpants. Perfect. She ran back at the door that led from the garage, and rushed into the driveway. Go, Bulk! She shouted, buckling herself up. No need to tell me twice. I can't tell if she's breathing or not. Ratchet yelled, slamming his fist. Where are they? Optimus clenched his fist, glaring at a wall. They will pay. He wanted to punch the wall so bad, but restraint was necessary. We're here. Maiko yelled, carrying the stack of clothes and first aid kit. Finally. Ratchet yelled, bring it here. Maiko ran up the stairs, clutching the items to her chest. I also brought her some extra clothes. She stated, setting those down. Fine, fine, fine. Just give me the first aid kit. Ratchet shouted. Maiko scowled, running up to him with the kit. Don't hurt her. She growled, handing it to him. Ratchet took it from her, opening it forcefully. Optimus turned, watching hesitantly. Anesthesia. Ratchet put his hand out, grabbing some cables he brought out. Here. Jack handed the large jug. Ratchet grabbed it, and drawed it out with a syringe. Maiko, connect the monitor. He ordered, lifting her right arm. Maiko nodded. She grabbed the collar thing, along with the cable with it. She guessed on where to put it, buckling it around Molly's neck. I think that's where you put it. She said, kneeling down. Maiko, connect the cable into the USB drive on my laptop. Raph yelled, typing in some codes. Maiko snatched the cable, winding it up to the laptop. There. Raph said, clicking on the pop-up, heart rate is being monitored. Ratchet nodded, and injected the anesthetic into her arm. Hopefully that will decrease the pain. Ratchet stated, connecting cables to her inner elbow in space between her collarbone and shoulders. I'm going to try and see what's stopping her DNA from stabilizing her blood pressure. He said, and scanned her major arteries. The screen had a pop-up, an indicator. By the Allspark. He gasped, optics widening. What is it, Ratchet? Optimus asked frantically. They didn't only injected her with Energon, Ratchet explained, they injected her with Dark Energon. Optimus's optics widened, his mouth opening. What? The kids yelled. Her body wants to reject the energon, but the dark energon is preventing it from being discharged off. Ratchet stated, typing into the computer. Optimus glowered, narrowing his optics. Is there a way to get rid of it? Raph asked, looking at the screen every once in a while. Ratchet froze, closing his optics. It would be easier if she was full-blooded human. He sighed, but dark energon is impossible to remove now that it has mixed with her own blood. Frantic beeping that once echoed through the room fell silent. Her heartbeat stopped. Raph stared, shock written on his face. Ratchet snapped his head towards the larger screen, seeing the blood pressure dropping. Her blood pressure slowed down. Optimus jerked his head towards his charge, his emotions swirling around him. Breathing stopped. Raph yelled, typing into the laptop. Everyone froze. Dead silence. No. Maiko whispered, hand underneath her head. Optimus leaned forward, his servo falling limp. Maiko swallowed a sob, pressing her hand against Molly's throat. Right there, was a small one-beat pulse. She's still, Maiko choked, laughing nervously. It's been 1 minute since her last beat. Ratchet took notice looking at her, she managed to stop her own heart rate. Hibernation. The bots turned to Raph. It's when an animal slows its heart rate and breathing during the winter to conserve energy. Bears can decrease their heart rate by 75%, but that is 14 beats a minute. Molly got hers to 1 beat per minute. Optimus stared, letting out a sigh in relief. She's conserving energy. Jack realized, without noticing it. Everyone let out a trapped breath, and watched her chest remain still. It's how she is still alive from everything. Ratchet said, looking at the blood pressure slow down steadily, but her blood pressure shouldn't be this slow. The veins got darker on her arm, her skin appearing translucent. She is showing heavy signs of metal in her blood. Ratchet said, looking at the screen. Molly jerked up, gasping and wheezing. Molly! Maiko shouted, holding her head. Metal was coughed up from her throat, liquid metal. It's clogging up her veins. Ratchet concluded, rushing over. Ratchet, Optimus asked, what do we do? Ratchet started freaking out, I don't know. Optimus looked to the first aid kit. The syringe case. He popped up, grabbing it yet again. He stumbled upon a piece of paper, attached to a bullet-shaped syringe with a thick needle. He grabbed it. He didn't even bother reading the attached parchment. Forgive me, Molly. He whispered, and stuck the needle into the upper arm. She gasped out, coughing. Eyes were dripping the liquid adamantium. Her heartbeat quickened, clenching her fists. She winced, and her eyes twitched. The metal automatically drew into the capsule, taking the shape of a bullet. Molly? Molly? Optimus leaned over her, optics widening in fear and worry. She groaned, rolling her head. Oh, Optimus? She fluttered her eyes open. He noticed one thing about them. The green that used to reside in her irises were now a dull gray. SHHHH. Maiko hugged her, stroking her head, you scared us all. Molly squeezed her eyes, breathing shakily. It burns. She whimpered, arms limp by her side. I know, I know. Maiko hushed, patting her friend's head. Where's Optimus? Molly asked, eyes drooping. He's here, don't worry. Maiko assured. Molly felt the burn on her arm, and traced the outline of the scars. It was vaguely familiar, as she traced it on Optimus's shoulder once before. She looked up, over Maiko's shoulder and messed up hair. Hey! She said weakly, looking at Optimus. He smiled, optics softening. Maiko, please let go. She mumbled, covering her shoulder. Sure. Maiko replied, getting up. Maiko handed her the clothes she got, which Molly took happily. Molly sighed, and saw everyone staring at her. Didn't mean to cause fright. She sighed, something stirring in her soul. You have no need to apologize. Optimus half growled, half breathed. It should be the Decepticons groveling at your feet and begging for mercy. Molly sighed, holding her arm and shaking her head. I should have listened and not went after the cons alone. She muttered, looking away. She traced the design with her thumb, wincing at the burn. "Can I have the medical wrap?" she asked, eyeing the first aid kit and syringe case. Optimus nodded, reaching for it. "And I can wrap myself, this time." She eyed Optimus, watching him grab the wrap. She took it from him, thanking him. Optimus smiled slightly, watching her quickly cover the bleeding scars. She wrapped it around, blood of red and black seeping through the gauze. "You need rest, Molly," Optimus said, putting a hand on the rail. "I recommend staying here to keep check on your condition," Ratchet suggested, looking at her. "No," she breathed, "I don't need to stay here tonight." Optimus sighed, brooding at her. "Molly," Optimus started, "I agree with Ratchet. We need to make sure you're alright." Molly frowned, her eyes fixed on the floor. "Logan will be worrying. I can't have starting a search party." Optimus looked disapprovingly at her, sighing. "It might not be best, but if it makes you comforted." He lifted her in his hands, and carefully transformed around her. "I apologize," he gloomed, driving out. "I've gotten used to it," she muttered, clutching the patch. They drove away from base, an electric storm close behind them. Lightning crackled across the sky, thunder booming loudly. "I'm going to get good sleep tonight," she sighed, looking longingly out the window. The ride was mainly silent, a question or two along the way. They drove onto her street, her house's lights on all the way. "Yep." Molly sighed, and they drove into her driveway. Optimus opened the passenger door for her, and she nodded in thanks. She crawled out, flinching from the pain in her arm. "Molly?" Logan ran out of the house, seeing her clutch her arm. "What happened?" He helped her up, walking her to the porch. "It was an accident," she lied. "The metal flooded my blood again, and I didn't have my syringes with me, so I gashed a hole in my arm before I fainted." It was believable, as she needs to check the metal all the time. He grabbed a blanket, covering her up. "Who drove you here?" he asked, glaring at Optimus. She turned, looking worryingly. "It's my friend's truck." She lied again. "He lent it to me before he went out of town." He eyed it again, looking at her. "You drove yourself here?" he yelled. "Yes," she said bluntly. Lightning flashed in the clouds, lighting the sky on fire. "Come on, let's get inside." He lifted her up, clutching the blanket around her. "What about the truck?" she asked, correcting herself. "I'll bring it in," he said, opening the door. "Can I do it?" Logan froze, looking at her. "Molly," he groaned, "you're hurt." She shrugged her good shoulder. "So?" Logan grunted, and walked in. She walked back to Optimus, waiting for Logan to open the garage. "He really cares for you," Optimus said, the door opening. "I know." Molly sighed, guiding Optimus in. "You said he was experimented with you," Optimus referred. "Why?" Molly smiled sweetly at the semi, and looked at him. "He has rapid cell regeneration," she said. "That's why I use his blood to heal. But only in emergencies." He hummed, his hood vibrating. They entered the garage, which was larger than Optimus expected. "Everything is with her," he thought, and stopped beside her Chevy. "You're going to have to stay here for the night," she said, running her fingers on his hood. "Try not to make much noise," she ordered, and walked to the top platform. Optimus watched her walk up, as she went into the bathroom to take a shower. He sighed, and looked around the garage. Under the platform was a workout area and a work area. Beside him was a beanbag couch with a TV and coffee table. It's all set up to how she wants it. He heard the water start, and looked to the platform. He heard singing, muffled by the sound of water raining down. He heard the door creak, and saw Logan walk in. "He looks like he could be related to her, besides the eyes," he noted, observing the Wolverine walk up the stairs. He knocked on the door to the bathroom, and looked down. "Molly, you need anything?" he asked, resting against the door. "Food," Molly yelled over the shower head, peeking from behind the shower doors. She sighed, and washed her hair. Her chest stretched, feeling like something was trying to tear out of her chest and exit out her throat. I'm going to have to look at the scar, she thought, massaging her scalp. She hummed the rest of her melody, trying to clean the blood off her body. It is so weird, having Optimus in my house, she thought. Her heart flushed at the thought of him, making her feel giddy. It was a relief to not feel pain. She turned off the water after shaving, and exited the glass panel door. She saw the mirror, and turned to see her shoulder. She took a deep breath, and carefully tore off the bandage. The scar, now clean from blood and energon, was surprising to her eyes. It was the Autobot insignia, glowing blue with a dark outline. Oh my God! Molly gasped, touching it. She winced, feeling a prick of pain. What caused this? She asked herself, looking at it. She grabbed a towel, wrapping it around her torso and breasts. She walked out of the bathroom, not exactly sure if Optimus was watching or not. Just to be safe, she went to the pile of clothes Miko got earlier, grabbing a bra and underwear, and went back to the bathroom to get dressed. She slipped the bra over her head, and put the sweatpants and underwear on. She pulled the tank top over her bra, and pulled it down. She looked back at the mirror, drying her hair. Brushing it out, her eyes caught the scar again. I'm going to need to cover that, she thought, opening a cabinet. She grabbed a roll of gauze wrap and aloe vera. She took the aloe, rubbing it around the mark. If they see this, they will flip, she said to herself, and put the aloe down. She wrapped the gauze around her upper arm, making sure it's fully covered. She admired her handiwork, and walked out. Optimus? She leaned over the railing along the upper platform. Yes? She jumped, looking down at the truck. Don't mess up my truck's paint. She walked down the stairs, and towards the couch. She flopped on the beanbag, curling up into a ball and making a nest. Good night, she said, smiling. If Optimus wasn't in vehicle mode, he would be smiling too. Good night, Molly. Like candles, the lights started to dim to a glow, painting the whole room in a haze of light. Molly curled tighter into a ball, pulling some blankets over her. Somewhere in the garage, a music box started playing. Soothing and peaceful, it lulled her off to sleep, pulling her away from reality. Optimus was calmed by the calming music, and he went into stasis. Among them too, something was still awake. Stirring in Molly's spirit, a claw of shadows and fire burst out of the light, and was pulled back by paws and hands and chains. She will return. Well, that's the ending of that chapter. I do hope you enjoy this video. If you like to see more, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment down below. Until next time.